Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Super Game Brothers podcast, a video game and board game podcast. This is very exciting. Happy to be here. This is the first time we have ever recorded a podcast, so we'll see how this goes. My name is David, and I will be kind of the main host today, but I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Devin. Devin, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Of course, bro. I'm doing pretty good as well. Got my drink with some caffeine in it, so I'm ready for this. I am feeling a little sick. We went on a family vacation a couple weeks ago, and I know you came home from that kind of sick, and my throat's been feeling kind of funky today. But
I did. I've had a cough for like a week, probably. It's been kind of annoying, but not too terrible. Very phlegmy.
Cool. Phlegm. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I also love phlegm.
Yeah. It's the best. Cool. Yeah, other than that, not much going on for me. Just a super busy week. Excited to launch Super Game Brothers here. I know our Patreon's just going up, and this will be our first episode that'll hit podcast services and YouTube. And yeah, we hope that everyone listening along will join with us. It'll be a fun adventure. And I think we'll have some fun conversations and laugh and just have a good time. I thought our first subject here would just kind of be to introduce ourselves, since I know some of the people listening probably know you, since you're kind of a big deal over there on the Twitch.
Oh.
But maybe, Devin, how about you jump on in and introduce yourself if you want to.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devin, also known as Player4 on Twitch. Not sure how I got that name. It was a miracle.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm 32 years old, single as a Pringle, and I like it that way. For now. I've been gaming as long as I can remember. I don't know. Truly, since I was like 3, probably. But like you and I played games together on every console.
Yeah.
The OG, Nintendo, SNES, PS1. I didn't play too much Xbox though. But what else about me? I'm kind of boring sometimes. I sit in my stream room about 8 to 10 hours a day. Fixing settings. I love settings. I stream variety on Twitch. Right now we're playing, what's the game called? Dragon's Dogma 2. And it's freaking fantastic. I don't play board games as much as Dave does. So he's going to be teaching you about board games. All right. I'm going to try to teach you, but it's not going to be as exquisite as what he does. But I've been on Twitch for, 2 years? Took a break for a while. I love it. I truly could do it 24/7 if I didn't have to sleep. I don't have a degree. I've worked a lot in my life. Not married. I'm excited to be here. I'm nervous. This is the first time I've ever done a podcast. At least the recording portion. So bear with us. Bear with me. I'm doing my best. But I'm excited. I'm excited for this and to see where it goes.
Yeah, you're doing Superman. It's my first time as well. It'll be fun. And yeah, my name is David. I am Devin's older brother. As he mentioned, we grew up together, played games together. Both have played lots of video games our entire lives. As he mentioned, I also am really into board games. You can kind of see them behind me back here. I have almost 300 at this point, so that entire wall is full. It's really fun. Love it. I think my grandma is who got me into board games. She was kind of crazy into them. She always had her Kindle going with like 50 different games of Words with Friends, and I remember she she used to play Phase 10 so much with her sisters that they created their own 10 extra phases so they could play Phase 20. I don't really like that game because it's so stinking long for what it is, but she loved long games. She passed away a few years ago, but I remember playing chess, Phase 10, Scrabble, Rummy with her at a young age, and yeah, and then pulling Risk and other games out of her closet and not knowing what to do with them other than throw the pieces around. But yeah, really love board games, and like Devin said, we grew up with basically every Nintendo console. The NES, the Super Nintendo, I think is kind of our favorites generally, just based on the age we were when it came out. We had PlayStation 1, and kind of when I was a teenager, I was kind of really into the Xbox and the Wii for like a minute, but then never really went back to the Xbox for some reason. And then since then, it's just kind of been Sony and then Nintendo since that point. But yeah, I really love games. Excited to have these weekly chats. I also run a YouTube channel called Gaming Top Down, where I talk about the board games I like and the ones that I have, do some unboxings and other videos that are kind of fun and silly. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm a year older than Devin. I am married, which is fun. Have been for almost 11 years, which is crazy. I'm super old.
I'm just slightly behind.
There's no behind in life. There's alive and not alive, I think. So
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, that was therapy with David. But cool. But yeah, we are the two hosts here, and maybe at some point we might, have a guest on eventually, but I think it'll mainly be the two of us here on the show. And the show might morph a little bit, but kind of my ideas with the show and what Devin and I have been talking about is that we wanted to have a show where we could talk about games. Like he mentioned, I'm a bit more heavy into board games than he is. And so we'll both be able to bounce video game conversation off each other pretty well, I think. But another thing I think we can do with this podcast is kind of lean into teaching each other things. I know Devin's really big into game settings, like he mentioned, and so he can probably teach me how to level up that way. And he's generally better at all of the video games he plays than me. So I'll probably do most of the board game teaching here on the channel, and Devin will clean my clock in any video games we play. And yeah, we'll probably lightly hit on news in the industries. This isn't necessarily like a newscast, just kind of meant to be fun and conversational in place of that. I know there are lots of video game and board game podcasts that do that, or that focus exclusively on the news, and I wanted this to be a little more fun and easygoing than just that. But we will talk about some news, even some quite a few bits of news later in the show. But yeah, I don't know, is there anything else you want the show to be, Devin? That's kind of the things we talked about at this point.
I'm already excited for the show. I'm getting hyped up. Being told I'm good at video games.
Oh yeah,
like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm hyped about it too. Especially hyped since our Video Ninja that we're doing the show on, my face has been frozen this entire time. So
it's been nice. I haven't been stressed out because I don't know if you're looking at me or not.
Yeah, you can pretend I'm not. Hopefully that oh, I did move. There we go. Hopefully it'll come back up. But yeah, excited for the show. You can check out more details on the Patreon, but basically the show will hit free feeds, every podcast service you can think of, and the video version on YouTube every Monday. And if you support us on Patreon, then you can get early access to this show and some exclusive episodes, which will be fun. We might do a deep dive into a game we're playing, kind of a review discussion, or maybe even play a game together and film that. Devin can carry me in some Rocket League, see if I can get back up to Grand Champ or not. Probably not. I've actually never been there. Champ 3 is the highest I've ever been. But
that game may be too hard nowadays, but we could try.
Yeah, it's a little nuts. yeah, we'll do lots of fun, kind of improv, not like improv comedy, but just kind of, we'll be more flexible on that channel, or that in those episodes. Cool. I think we'll have more to chat about in these opening sections as we get going, and hopefully get some listener questions in here to make us laugh, or have some cool topics to go over. But for today, I mainly just wanted to introduce us here. So make sure you check out Devin on Twitch. That's Player4. I think he's live weekdays, usually around, 8 a.m. Pacific ish.
Yeah, it'll fluctuate, but yeah.
And then check out the Super Game Brothers YouTube channel. We'll post video game stuff on there from time to time. And if you like board games, make sure to check Gaming Top Down. Cool. So next up, we're going to talk about what we have been playing lately. We've got kind of a long list since this is the first episode. And I didn't know how far back in history to go. Should I have pulled up every game or just the last little bit? But Devin, it says here you're playing Dragon's Dogma 2. I know that you've been streaming that a bit. How have you liked that game so far?
The game slaps, first off, for a lot of reasons. It's not your typical open world game. The movement mechanics are weird. The whole thing's weird. It's kind of goofy. For example, you can pick up your teammates, like put them over your shoulder, or the enemies. You just throw them off a bridge. That's not the best part of the game, though. The upgrade system is fantastic. The world is huge. You get rewarded for checking corners. I'm a big believer in checking corners in games. You got to get those runes. What else? Huge monsters. Cool monsters. Fought something today. Chat said it was called a chimera. Chimera? I don't know. Like a lion chimera.
I think
it's like a lion, snake, goat thing with magic.
I saw that. I saw you climb up on the top. You were on top of the goat head. That was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can climb the enemies as well. So you climb up them. It does use a little bit of stamina. But, if you climb up on the head of something, you do like 4 times as much damage. The game's progression system is super good. I do have a few complaints, I would say, about it. But nothing to push me away from the game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I 100% the game. I don't want to stop playing it. Yeah, I like it that much. It's so good. It's so fun.
It seems really cool. The world kind of gives me an Elden Ring vibe, kind of similar colors. Kind of like that brown kind of color. I don't know how else to explain that, but
yeah.
Kind of that kind of vibe, and there's lots to find if you explore. But yeah, the combat's so different. It's not really Soulsy at all. You don't like take a ton of damage when you get hit. It's more about like chipping away at your enemies.
Yeah, it reminds me of what I've seen. Are you gonna say Monster Hunter World?
I've never played it, but I know you made that comparison.
Yeah, it just seems like everything takes a long time to kill, unless it's just little ads running around. And once you upgrade your character, it's hard to take you out. You also get to go out with a team, so 3 others, and you get to pick their class. So you got a mage, an archer, a trickster, a warrior. What am I? A killer? Is that what? No, a fighter. I'm a fighter.
Devin's just a straight killer.
Yeah. The enemies just die of fear when they see me. No, I'm just a fighter class. I think there's like 8 of them. But you can be pretty OP. But you can also get absolutely clapped if you don't prepare when you leave a safe area. I don't know. There's a lot to the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, just watching you for a little bit, it seems like your pawns are way more important than I thought they were going to be. Because I know I was watching you do some fights without them, or a couple of them have been knocked out, I think. And those seemed really difficult, like you were struggling at parts. But then when all 3 of them are alive, there's like spells going everywhere, and someone's throwing another character on top of the boss, and someone's, Reyes is probably dead somewhere, but other than him, other than him being always knocked out, it seemed like they were pretty capable.
Yeah, they really are good. Half the time you're being healed by your teammates.
Oh yeah.
And they're dealing damage. They all have like their own special things, but when they all three go down, the game becomes overwhelming. Like you're running into enemies like every 20 yards probably in the open world.
I've been really impressed with that. It's very full of enemies.
Oh my gosh. It's insane. But yes, highly recommend that game to anyone, even though it's $70, and that is a little bit crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of standard price now for brand new games. And it's crazy. That's actually kind of cheap. It seems like a lot of money, but like when the NES came out in 1989 or whatever it came out, like games back then were, some of them like Final Fantasy and stuff are like $90 or $100. And if you adjust that for inflation, that's like $200 nowadays. But, so video games are technically
then
yeah,
because we're getting a deal.
No, we really are, but
no,
it's still expensive, especially with our inflation going on in the country right now. So totally get it. Yeah, the game seems really cool. I haven't seen much of what you've played other than you running around in the world. I'm excited to try it and kind of see what the story's about. With the word dragon in the title, I don't know if they're like a big part of the game, kind of like Skyrim had like the focus on defeating X number of dragons or something. So yeah, I don't know.
As of right now, they do seem like the hardest enemy in the game.
Yeah, they have like 10 health bars or something.
Yeah, they've got like 7 or 8 health bars, and it's the only main boss type enemy that actually like talks to you in this scary voice. He like knows that you're the Arisen, and he's like, "Show me your power." And you're like, "Oh, it's about to go down for 30 minutes," because that's how long the fight takes. But great game. Truly fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to try it. What classes can you start with? I know you said you're other than a killer, a straight killer, a warrior, I think. And you said, I think there's at least 3 or 4 more other ones.
Warrior, mage, sorcerer, archer, fighter, trickster, and I want to say there's a total of 7 or 8. So I think there's 1 or 2 I don't know about yet.
That's cool.
Another thing to note about that game is it does not hold your hand. For the first 20 or 30 hours, you're probably just going to be running in circles. Truly. But I respect it. I do. It helped me to kind of understand the game's mechanics and find secrets and chests and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that too. I think it's cool that it's difficult, but in like a different way than a lot of the Souls games are, where it's just, this boss is going to one-hit kill you. So yeah, seems interesting. I'm excited to try it. I haven't tried that one yet, but the next game on your list here, Devin, I have played, just not as much of it as you. I think you finished
another banger.
And this one does jump back into that Souls genre, which I know you really enjoy. So tell us a little bit about Lies of P. What did you like most about it?
I'm going to be honest, I struggle with dialogue in games. Chat kept asking me, they said, "So what's going on in the game right now? What's the story?" And I don't perfectly know it. I know it has something to do with Pinocchio. Pinocchio.
I thought you were going to say Pokemon.
Pinocchio. You're like a puppet, and Geppetto wants you to do missions. There's this other kind of cute girl. She's trying to level you up. And basically very Souls-like. The bosses are very hard-hitting. Once again, check your corners in that game because you'll find stuff. They have a cool system with their weapons. I've never seen another game do this. So you have your handle of a weapon and you have your blade. You can pick your favorite blade, but then a lot of your stats go in your handle and you're able to upgrade the handle to fit the upgrades of your character because you can slot specific upgrades. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but something like dexterity or strength, and you can make a build based on that. but one weapon isn't just one weapon. You can actually take the head of a shovel and put it on the handle of a dagger. You know, really, really strange.
Ultimate weapon, shovel on a dagger.
About a foot long. You got to get close and personal with that thing. But great game. Beautiful game. Very, very pretty. It ran super well. I played on the PS5, but it ran really, really good.
I think you played it on PC, actually.
Oh, I did play it on PC.
Yeah.
On Game Pass. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I'm just lying.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I was going to say it's free on Game Pass. I don't know how long it will be on there, but definitely worth trying out. I was very impressed as well. A lot of these Souls games that aren't made by From Software are just like seem like a pretty big downgrade, but this one seems very solid. Like if you told me they made it, I probably would have believed you.
Yeah, it's like what is it? The game made by Blue Point? What is it? Blue something?
Demon Souls?
Demon Souls. Yeah, who's that made by?
Yeah, Blue Point. You're right.
Oh, I am right. Let's go.
Yeah.
See, I thought it was going to suck. When I heard that it wasn't From Software, I thought, I don't want to play that. That game's going to be trash. And the game was honestly really fun.
Yeah, that one was great. That one was a straight remake from a game that From Software did make. So you probably can't give Blue Point too much credit since it was a remake of a PlayStation 3 game that they made. But yeah, Demon Souls was kind of the kicking off point of the Souls genre. It came out before the original Dark Souls.
Really? As much as I like Souls games, I'm surprised I didn't know that.
That was a long time ago. I don't know when that came out, 2010 or something. Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, Lies of P is really great. I've been playing it on my Rogue Ally, which has been really fun, actually. I have to play it at a little bit lesser resolution. I think I play it at 900p, and then it is upscaled. But I can get about 60 frames at 900p, and on a 7-inch screen, looks pretty dang good. So
that's what I was going to say. On a small screen, that's still going to look amazing.
Yeah, and it's been very fun. I really appreciate that. And this might seem like a little bit of a cop-out because I don't think From Software would put this in their game necessarily, even though they do allow co-op in bosses, so maybe they would. But there's that system where you can walk up to that pool of water, I don't remember what it is called, and put some resource in it. And
like a summoning of some sort.
Yeah, you summon a spirit to help you fight the bosses. And man, those summons, they make the boss fight so much easier. I mean,
a world of difference.
I've had a few times where the boss was dead and that summon's still alive, which is crazy. But yeah, if you're struggling with that game, that's a way that you could at least, see it through, I think. Because I think some people do struggle with the difficulty of games like that.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You can play it how you want to play it. Some people are, die hard, don't use any magic. It's all melee, perfect parries, perfect dodging. And other people are like, I just want to get through the game and enjoy the story, kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so they give anybody, any type of player, a way to beat the game, which is nice.
Yeah, I think that's cool. There's no cutting anyone out. And if you want to play it hardcore, you still can. And I haven't looked at the trophy list since we played it on Game Pass for PC, but I imagine there's some trophies for beating bosses without summons or something. If I'm in the game, that's what I would do to incentivize you to not use them. But I didn't check that beforehand, so I don't know for sure.
Have you checked the Dragon's Dogma trophies?
I haven't. Have you looked at them?
I have not, but I'm going to for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely check them before I start that game. That's usually what I do. I'll go on to PSN profiles and see if there's a trophy guide. And most of the trophy guides are pretty good at saying you can read to this point and there won't be any spoilers. And it's just okay, you need to do this in playthrough 1, do this in playthrough 2. Here's the missable trophies. Make sure you don't miss those. So I usually skim. Skim's the right word.
That's actually super smart, just so you don't have to do 6 playthroughs to get the platinum.
Yeah. Definitely recommend that site. It's really great. Yeah, Lies of P, awesome game. I really like the vibe. It kind of reminds me of Bloodborne, but it's a little more like what do they call it? Cloudpunk? Steampunk. That's the word.
Steampunk.
Yeah, with robots, but still kind of has that gothic feel. It's really, really cool. Highly recommend Lies of P.
What would you call BioShock?
Yeah, that's a
As
good question
far,
too.
yeah.
It I'm not sure. It might also kind of fall into steampunk a little bit because there's like, especially BioShock Infinite, that one has a lot more like brass and gold and
Mm-hmm.
um seems more steampunk even though it's, up in the sky and a little cleaner than like dirty smoggy steampunk. But yeah, the original, I'm not 100% sure. Those are great games though. I need to replay those sometime soon because it's been 11 years since I played Infinite, and I've actually never finished the first one,
Wow.
which I know is kind of blasphemy. And I've never played the second one. I think I have the collection on PS4, so I could play all three of them again. Probably good content for the YouTube channel, Bioshock series
Oh,
playthrough. That'd be
100%.
fun.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't remember if the games are even good, like 1 and 2, but I love the vibe of them. Like, what do they
Yeah,
call those
Vibe's
little
really cool.
things? The mommies or the daddies? What is it?
The Big Daddies and
The big
the
daddies?
Little Sisters. Is that what the little girls are called?
Probably.
Something like that.
Yeah, just
You
kind of like
can-
horror, underwater, steampunk,
Yeah, very unique.
weird abilities. Yeah, big fan.
Mhm. Yeah, not to go on too much of a Bioshock tangent, but the creator of Bioshock, Ken Levine, the last game he made was Bioshock Infinite, and his team made the first one and Infinite. They didn't make the second one. But
Oh,
their new
really?
game, their new game comes out soon. It's called Judas. So you should look that up after the show.
I think I watched the trailer.
Okay, yep, that's their new game. I don't know if there's a date. It might not come out till next year, but I know that one's pretty well hyped in the industry just because of his name. He's kind of a big name. Like if Steven Spielberg, or in the horror scene, Ari Aster had a new movie. You kind of pay attention to that. But
I don't know how you know all these facts.
I read too much. Speaking of Ari Aster, really quick, have you seen Beau is Afraid yet?
You with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah, and it's like 3 hours long. I haven't seen it yet, but
I did or I dreamed that I did. I don't know. I really don't know.
That's funny. Yeah, I wonder if your dream synopsis of it would match the actual movie. But yeah, I want to watch that one. I've seen Midsommar and Hereditary, both very strange and like kind of terrifying in their own unique way.
Midsommar is so good.
I really like it. I like the Scandinavian vibe. But yeah,
something you should watch that kind of made me feel the same, that was super weird, is I don't know if it's the OG The Wicker Man, but very, very strange. He's in like this small community place. Everyone's acting weird in a different country, something, and you can tell there's something going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that vibe of like, this seems normal, but I'm in a place I don't understand, and something's definitely not going to be normal. It's a cool vibe. I've seen the remake of that, the one with Nicolas Cage. And it wasn't great. There's that funny scene where I think it's memed pretty much everywhere on the internet, where they put like a sack on Nicolas Cage's head that has a whole bunch of bees in it, and he's like saying, "No, not the bees." I don't know if you've seen
really?
That, but yeah, that's pretty.
I haven't seen that.
So yeah, I'll have to watch the original one, because the remake's a little silly. But anyways, that's kind of the deal with Judas, a big name game developer or director, excuse me. So I'm excited for that one. Hopefully it'll be super when it comes out next year, I think. Ooh, yeah. Anything else you want to say about Lies of P? How does it rank in like your if you were going to rank all the Souls games, how would Lies of P sit? Does it sit kind of in the middle? Does it sit pretty high?
And there's it was so good. I remember mentioning on stream that it combats, don't hate me for this, but it combats Bloodborne for a few reasons for me. The extra frame rate, the extra weapon mechanics, just the vibe. I love the gothic aesthetic of Bloodborne, but I also love this aesthetic of this game. This game's a little prettier than Bloodborne and newer, so it does feel a little better. But I'm going to have to stick Bloodborne at number 1. It's the OG game that made me love Souls games.
Yeah, those nostalgic vibes of like playing that first area in Yarnum with like the werewolf things and that cross on fire.
You mean
Man, that was
dying
like
in the first area of Yarnum?
Oh yeah, dying like 75 times and then saying, why do people like this game? And then at some point it just kind of clicked and you're like, oh, that's the best game ever. That's why.
Yeah.
They need to remake that ASAP. I don't know what they're doing over there. Cool. Lies of P's great if you need a Souls game. And again, check it out for free. I guess free isn't the right word. You have to have Game Pass, but if you have Game Pass, definitely check it out. Totally worth it. Another one that we've both been playing, haven't played for a few weeks now, but Helldivers 2. Man, this game's fun. Just such a crazy good time. If you just, I don't know, if it just reminds me of like guys' night. Like we're just gonna go be like crazy and just destroy as many things as possible. And it's just hilarious watching like your friend get squished by something and then they drop down in their pod and destroy a bug, and just the physics and the kind of the hilarity there it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember seeing I think we had close to 1,000 kills. Can I say kills on here? I don't know.
Yeah.
We had close to 1,000 kills of bugs in like a 40-minute mission. And that's a lot. There were only 3 or 4 of us in there, so we were averaging 300-ish kills per match. I mean, the best way to play it though, turn on AC/DC. That's what we've been doing on stream, and that is a funny time.
Yeah, feel very American there, blasting that 80s metal. Yeah, or 80s rock. Yeah, Helldivers is great. We'll have some news about Helldivers a little bit later in the show, but yeah, I need to get back to it because it's just so fun. I wish we had a few more friends that had it, because once you have a full squad, man, it's just such a blast. It's crazy how many enemies that game will just throw at you, especially on those higher difficulty levels. It's like, we don't care. We'll throw, here comes 400 enemies. I don't even.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it's so fun because it's not the most polished game I've ever played. Sometimes the movement is a little bit funky.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little bit cheap and it's like, really? I just died to that? But I think that's kind of the art of it, is you will die.
Yep, I think that's part of the charm for sure. It has kind of weird mechanics like the strange dive. And you can dive backwards and shoot your gun through your legs. And there's been lots of videos on TikTok of people like lighting a grenade and then diving off a cliff onto a bile monster. What are those called? The bile titan. So yeah, it's just funny. It just has very much just the Starship Troopers vibes that are, we'll die for our country and we hope we die right now kind of vibe. It's
honestly.
Really funny.
Quick note, if you're trying to add a friend cross-platform, good luck. Read Reddit threads. That's all I can say. That is tough. I've been trying to add a friend from PC to PlayStation for 2 weeks now, and the friend request still has not gone through.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll fix it, but just a note.
I know that game's had some weird bugs. Like initially when it launched, they could only have a certain number of people sign in. I think the servers weren't big enough to allow more than a couple 100,000 or something, and it kind of blew up bigger than they thought. I think they came out and said it's because we built it on this game engine that actually isn't developed anymore, so it's been out of service for a few years. So I think they're having to fix and patch things on the fly. But
really,
yeah, kind of weird. I'm surprised they didn't just make it in like Unreal or something. But yeah, lots goes into thinking about engines, I'm sure, that I don't know a lot about because I'm not a game developer, and I'm sure they don't want to pay Epic 5% of their game sales to use Unreal.
Speaking of engines, you've been playing Pacific Drive.
Oh, look at that transition, ladies and gentlemen. Jeez. Who's the host now? It's not even me. Yeah, I've played a little bit of Pacific Drive. It's kind of a weird game. It's first person, kind of a survival game. But the whole idea is you're not building up a base, kind of like most survival games. You're building a mobile base. You're trying to build up this clunker of a car, a station wagon, and you have to drive through this, what do they call it? This zone. I can't remember what it's called, a restricted zone or some kind of zone that has some weird things going on. I don't know a ton about the story yet. There's a few people like talking to me over the radio saying like, we need you to get here to this place, and then we can figure out what's going on and hopefully get you out of this exclusion zone maybe. But yeah, it's really fun. It has a fun loop. You go on a run with your car and you're driving to some region with some goal. It might just be to get more resources. I need more steel or whatever to build new parts for the car, or it might be there's some story thing there that you need to gather. And along the way there's these, I can't remember all the jargon, there's these orange kind of energy balls, I don't know what they're called, kind of spread all over the map. And as soon as you grab a couple of them, they're kind of a valuable resource that you can use to buy new upgrades for your car. And I think they power some other things as well back at your garage. But basically, you're looking for those and looking for other resources that you can take back and use on your car. But then there will be weird things going on wherever you're driving around. The road might all of a sudden have like a giant saw blade drive through it, or this alien ship might fly by and shoot a tether at your car and just pull you through the woods for like a couple minutes. And your car takes damage, and if you like fall off a cliff, like, you know, parts will break, and you have to, very much survival game kind of trappings there. You have to fix tires that are flat. Your battery might die, so you have to recharge it. You can run out of gas, so you have to siphon gas out of other cars. So a little bit inventory and menu heavy because of that, because you're always keeping track of those things, which can sometimes get in a little bit of the way. But occasionally I really like a survival game like that, like Subnautica I really loved. But even in a survival game like that, I'm kind of gunning for the story and like to figure out what's going on. I build just enough of a base to like survive and progress, where some people like live for the base building. Like, I'm going to build the biggest, coolest base and take 100 hours to make this, like, I don't know, the best base you've ever seen. And then when I go out with my car, I'll be unstoppable, where I'm like always driving around with my dinky submarine in Subnautica, or my halfway broken car in Pacific Drive, just like, yeah, I can get a little further. I want to see what happens next. And I'm definitely not ready for that.
I would play it
area.
Just like you play it. Exactly the same.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of like survival games sometimes, but I feel like I don't play them right because I'm not doing more of that, you know, collection stuff and building up a huge base. But luckily you can kind of do both. You can push your luck and, you know, just press forward and hope that, you know, you see there's these weird, like, kind of human looking statue. They're not statues. They're kind of like made of smoke or whatever. But if you drive too close to them, they explode. And basically everything in the game wants to hurt you. Some of it doesn't intentionally come after your character, but if you happen to drive by it, it will hurt you. So yeah, there's a lot of danger in the way. And probably my favorite part of each run is after you've gathered enough of those energy sources, those orange kind of balls and these weird kind of stands that are spread out through the level, then kind of like Fortnite, this big ring starts closing in on you that will do like tons of damage to your car. So from wherever you are, you have to book it to this central kind of beacon. It'll be this big beam of yellow light in the sky that you can see no matter where you're driving. You could be like barreling down a cliff and through the woods, and you'll see like that beacon of yellow light. Like, that's where I need to get to, and I have 2 minutes or else my car is going to be destroyed. And that chase, after you've gathered all your stuff and you're like, I need to survive this so I don't lose all my stuff, is really fun because you're just barreling down. You know, the fastest way to get there is usually not on the road. It's okay, I need to drive through these million trees. And yeah, it's really fun, especially if you like survival games. I think you'll vibe with it probably even more than I have, but I think the loop is fun. And I think I'll keep playing it, probably with the intent of, this isn't a game I would probably platinum, just because that grind of building up the best car that I don't even know what the top tier would be with diamond plated windows or whatever, but just get the clunker to the end of the game would kind of be my goal. But yeah, Pacific Drive, super cool. I had heard just from a little research online and some articles that the performance wasn't great, but it has seemed just fine to me on the PlayStation 5. I don't think it's perfectly 60 for sure, but it hasn't been like a negative factor really. So if you're
it's supposed to be 60 frames.
I think it is on PC, and I think that's what they're shooting for on PS5, but it does chug a little lower than that, I would say. Probably floating around 40 when it gets really busy. But then, there are quite a few times where it actually is 60 when you're zooming around.
I see.
Yeah,
is it good
Pacific Drive
to beat?
I think it's a game that I would like to beat. I really like strange kind of indie games. I mean, this one's for like a game we would call indie. This one is humongous, but it's so unique that I think I would like to beat it, or at least get a little bit farther to see what maybe the story's going to do. After kind of in your runs, you'll go out to new locations on the map, and as you get some upgrades, you can start going farther into this exclusion zone to like level 2 and level 3 areas that get more and more dangerous. So as long as they slowly kind of unveil like new exciting things, and the level 2 and level 3 and level 4 regions aren't exactly like the level 1 ones, then I think there'd be enough to pull me through. Yeah,
I see.
You played it for a few minutes, right? I think only like an hour.
Yeah, for a few
maybe.
minutes, and then I got kind of sick and I never went back to it, but I have been curious. I have.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if that was motion sickness because you were sitting right next to your screen in like a first-person driving game, or if it was something else. But
yeah, I might have just been malnourished, honestly. It might not even have been the game's fault at all, but who knows?
Yeah. Malnourishment and streaming, they might go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah. Throw a little caffeine in there, you got yourself a combo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Pacific Drive is pretty fun. I'd recommend it. Other games for me, just a couple that I'll briefly mention. I've been playing Lords of the Fallen. I will say Liza P kind of took over this one. Lords of the Fallen's pretty fun though. I mean, it's another Souls-like. This one kind of has the unique part of it is that you have this lantern that you can pull out and kind of go into a light versus dark world, and there are different enemies and different things you can do in each world. There might be a save point like in the Umbral world that might not be in the other one, and if you die, then you go into the dark world. You're not totally dead. So you kind of get a second life. I think it only brings you back with like half a health bar maybe, but yeah, it's pretty fun. It's tough. Doesn't have that helpful feature that Liza P has to summon like an NPC to help you with the boss fights. I think you can do co-op, but I haven't tried that.
Yeah, I played Lords of the Fallen for a couple days. And speaking of the lantern mechanic, very strange. For me, though, I almost wish the mechanic was out of the game. Just because I always stress, once again, I like to check corners, make sure everything is done behind me before moving forward, if I like the game. Yeah. And in that, I felt like I needed to check behind me, but then flip the lantern and check behind me again in every area I had just completed to find everything. And I was like, is this too much? I was just a little bit overwhelmed, but honestly, the game was super cool. It was like a Souls game, but slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar feel to a Souls game for sure. Yeah. It probably made you feel like you had twice as much area to explore. And the hard part is if you go into the dark world, you can't just hop out. You can only hop out at these certain statues. So you might think, okay, if I go into the Umbral world, it will let me go under this water, which would otherwise kill me. But if I go in there, there might not be one of these statues for a long time. And so I won't be able to check the area I'm in now currently all the way. So yeah, there's a lot to keep track of with the 2 world thing. Cool idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, in practice, I don't know if it's, I don't know, it made the game a little.
I mean, it's not bad. If you've got time and you're liking the game, then cool. You get nearly double the content if you want to really deep dive into being a loot goblin, you know?
Yeah, I'd recommend that one too. I think it's good. I got it on a pretty hefty sale. I think maybe around $25. And I think it's definitely worth, $25-$30 for sure.
Yeah.
I do think Lies of P is better though, if you're just looking for one Souls game to play right now.
Yep.
Couple other little ones for me, and then I know you've got a demo that you can mention kind of quickly, but I've been playing Vampire Survivors, it was really big, I think, last year when it came out, but it's a very simple game where all you do is move your character with a joystick. I think it was even on mobile, and you can just move your character with a mobile joystick on an iPhone. So there's no buttons other than that. So you can play it one-handed, which I've done, which is kind of nice.
Hey, then you could eat while gaming.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
I played it a bunch on our family vacation, actually, while we were watching Dune and maybe eating dinner. I can't remember what else we were doing when I was playing it, but yeah, it's really fun though for a game that sounds like, a mobile game that I wouldn't be interested in. It basically has a Castlevania vibe heavily, and you choose a starting character, and eventually you can unlock up to like probably 30 different characters, and your character kind of auto fires whatever weapon they start with. One character starts with a whip, another one starts with this like magic wand that shoots out like a blue beam at the closest enemy. And then as you kill these enemies that are kind of closing in around you, they drop little, I think they're cubes or diamond shaped, I can't remember the shape, little XP pieces. And so you need to run around and grab those too, because every time you level up, you get to choose an upgrade out of, I think it defaults to 3 random ones from like the set you have unlocked. And like there's a luck skill that you can unlock, and if you have unlocked that one, when you level up, you might randomly get a 4th one to choose from, or maybe even a 5th, I'm not sure. But yeah, you choose a new upgrade. It might be, okay, upgrade my whip, so now it fires 2 directions. It fires in front of me and behind me. Or when you upgrade your whip to level 6 or 7, it might be firing your whip forwards, backwards, up, down. And when you upgrade the ice, I don't think it's ice, that magic wand, it'll shoot 2 casts instead of just 1. There's like a one that casts fire, and basically all these different weapons that you can unlock through repeatedly playing. And it just gets crazy, just total madness. We talked about Helldivers throwing a lot of enemies at you. Vampire Survivors throws exponentially more. It is a smaller 2D game, but I think one of the levels I played, I killed 30,000 enemies.
Holy. When you're talking about it, it kind of sounds like Enter the Gungeon a little bit. Like you can beat the game, you can go back in, unlock more weapons, beat the game, go back in.
And
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
kind
I'm
of similar that way. You don't even have to beat the whole game. It does have levels. So like the first level, you'll probably die the first few times you try it, because eventually, until you've upgraded your character and upgraded your weapon drops enough, you will just get overwhelmed with the hundreds of enemies that are on the screen. But once you've upgraded your character enough, then you can generally beat a level. Then you might unlock hyper mode on the level, which your character moves faster, but so do the enemies, and unlock new levels. And yeah, it's just really fun. Towards the end of a level, you might be like in the center of the screen, and the entire rest of the screen is just filled with enemies, and you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna survive the next 10 seconds. But
your weapon is really upgraded enough to maybe come out of that.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of weapons. There's like garlic that would kill vampires, that puts like a ring of protection around you that does damage right immediately surrounding you. The more you upgrade your garlic, that ring gets bigger and bigger. There's also like the holy water from Castlevania that kind of falls from the sky. All kinds of different weapons. Yeah, very much Castlevania if you took it and made it top down and took away your attack and jump buttons, and all you do is move your character around and try not to touch the enemies, because when they touch you, they'll do damage to you, and that's how you die.
And so your weapon just auto shoots.
Yep, on a timer. And by upgrading them, you can reduce the cooldown on those timers as well. So the weapons start attacking quicker, and they might reach longer, or start hitting through. After you upgrade some of them enough, it will do damage to the one it hits and then move through that enemy and hit the one behind it. And with enough upgrades, it might go through 5 or 6 enemies, hurting all of them. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that one. It's also on Game Pass. I think I also have it on Steam. I think it's a $5 game that you can usually get on sale for, $2 or $3. Very fun if you like retro kind of games. It's very unique. I haven't played anything like it. I know there is kind of a genre of, I don't remember what they call them. It's kind of auto play. I can't remember, of games that kind of play themselves and you have a little bit of like control over them, but not much. And so maybe there are more games similar to this one than I'm aware of, but
yeah,
it seems very unique to me. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, Game
it's
Pass
also really great.
Comes in clutch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, especially how much is that a month?
I'm not sure. I think it's $15. So it is a killer deal for sure. I especially for someone like me who's never had an Xbox in the Game Pass era. I've never even had an Xbox One, let alone a Series X or S, and so I'm way behind on games that are exclusive to Xbox, and they're getting others like Vampire Survivors is currently exclusive. It's not on PlayStation. And so yeah, if you're coming over from Nintendo or Sony, and I recently got this ROG Ally and it came with 3 months of Game Pass, and so that's why I've been trying out some of these games. Yeah, super cool. Highly recommend that one if you have Game Pass, and it plays really well on a handheld too. If you have a Steam Deck, man, I think or this Ally, I think it's perfect for that. Can play it at 120 frames per second on my Ally. It looks really nice, even in all its pixely glory.
If you guys haven't held a Rogue Ally, you need to. Really cool device. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's I kind of wish I had the extreme version that has a little more power, but man, you can if you look closely, at least in America, you can get it for $400 usually if you look around on Amazon and Best Buy, where it's a $600 unit and the extreme version is $700. So $400 is a pretty good steal. I think a couple days ago it was actually on sale for $300, but I think Best Buy issued a statement saying it was a price error and canceled anyone's that ordered during that period. But yeah, they're super cool. Really like them. I'm excited to see what like the second version of these PC handhelds looks like. The second
so am I.
Kind of wave. What's the Steam Deck 2 going to look like? And because yeah, they're really sweet. I mean, with the rate that technology improves, these things it'll be interesting to see like how long we continue to buy like giant PlayStation 5s that plug into a TV, where they can make something a little smaller that has a screen on it that you can has a battery and you can take with you. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, handheld gaming is super cool. I mean, imagine a device with no input lag, and I love my OLED screens.
Yeah,
a great battery life, all in your hands. You can play it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now I feel like every version of a handheld PC like these has some compromise. Like the Steam Deck's screen isn't 1080. I think it's like 800p or something, and I think it only does 60 frames, where the Ally's does 120 frames, but the Ally's battery life is worse. So I feel like all of them have some compromise, but eventually like batteries are going to get better, and the processors will get better, and so they're just going to become cooler and cooler, I think.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask the audience. What are you willing to compromise on when buying equipment or consoles?
Yeah. And even in that handheld space, I mean, you can tell that people are willing to compromise, especially if you look at the Switch. I mean, that thing is
truly
quickly, it's pretty quickly going to pass the PlayStation 2, I think, is the number one selling console of all time. And man, I think the screen's 720, and even when you plug it in, it's only 1080 to the dock and a TV. A lot of the games look like they could run on a PlayStation 3, but Nintendo just makes such good games in that kind of frame set that it doesn't matter. I mean, I was playing Mario Kart with my son today, and it's still a great game. And Mario Kart 8 came out in 2013, the year I got married 11 years ago, and they still haven't made a new one.
They just keep adding on to that one.
Yeah, they've only released like a few expansion packs that have like more tracks, I think. So I think instead of the 48 tracks that it came with initially, I think there are 96 now, which is really cool. We bought that, and it's awesome to have that many more tracks. But yeah, Mario Kart 9 would be great. Nintendo would be super. But yeah, that's going to be a Switch 2 thing for sure.
They have a niche where they're not so worried about those things some of us care about. If the game's good, not at all. We don't care if it looks as good as Demon Souls, you know? That game was beautiful.
Yeah.
There's probably more beautiful games, but that's just what came to my head. And people still want to play them. You know, Zelda, one of the most loved games of all time. Sometimes the graphics slightly bother me. Don't come at me, but they do. I'm like, I wish this would look better. I wish this could look really, really realistic and be the same game. But
yeah, I don't even mind that it looks kind of cartoony. I kind of like the cell shaded nature of it. I just wish that, okay, give me this game on the PlayStation 5 that runs at 4K and 60 frames a second, because it runs at 1080 at like 40 frames a second, you know?
Yeah.
It's still an amazing game, and you fight through those technical things because their games are so good. But yeah, it'll be interesting. You need to, I know we've been planning on this, but you need to borrow my Switch and play Tears of the Kingdom, because it's super. I still haven't even finished it because it's so big. Holy cow. But yeah, super. And you need to play Super Mario Wonder, which I think is a really great example of, like, in that game, I don't even really care that it's not 4K, because it's the 1080 is so crisp, and I believe it is 60 frames. So it feels perfect, and it looks good enough. But yeah, a lot of their games don't run at 60. I know, like, the latest Pokemon game, I think, really chugged, 15, 20 frames at some points. But people fight through that stuff because Nintendo makes good stuff.
Yeah, it is wild.
So yeah, audience, let us know if you play primarily on the Switch with its stinky frame rates, or if you play elsewhere. Last game for me, and then I'll let you talk. I feel like I've just been stealing the mic here, but I've also been playing Dredge, which is a kind of an indie game about, I guess dredging is the word, but you have this boat and you sail around to different islands in this ocean, and you have to catch fish to sell for money and upgrade your boat and figure out what weird things are going on these islands, because there are some like cosmic kind of weird, there's kind of a horror vibe to the game. It's not like especially scary. I mean, it is a little bit to me, since the ocean is like one of the most terrifying things to me. A place humans should not be, in my opinion. Luckily, at least to the point I'm at yet, you don't go under the water. You're always in your ship on the surface, which is good. Yeah, it's really fun. You upgrade like your fishing equipment, catch different kinds of fish, go to new islands. It's a little video gamey in that, like, this island is has a volcano on it, and so you need a special kind of fishing pole that has volcanic fishing line on it, so you can catch the fish around the volcano. So a little silly that way sometimes, but it's really fun. And catching the fish is just a simple mini game where you basically have to time button presses. And then you have I think they call it a dredger or something, but it's basically the same as fishing, but with kind of a crane system that like goes down underwater and picks up steel and pieces of wood. And there's a little mini game to gather those as well. But Dredge is really fun. I'm excited to see how it, wraps up. I probably played 15 hours of it and been to, I think, all but one of the main islands, but there are some things I need to go back to each of them and do. There's like this weird underwater creature that kind of looks like the what's it called in Return of the Jedi. There's the Sarlacc pit where they try to push Luke Skywalker into that hole with the teeth.
Oh yeah. I do know that actually.
Yeah. It kind of looks like that, but it's underwater. And in the newer versions of Return of the Jedi, they added some CGI to make that like Sarlacc monster look a little weirder. It kind of like sticks out of the hole and has like a bulb mouth. There's a big kind of creature that looks like that under this one part of the water, and I'm a little nervous to go over there. Water games freak me out, even though I did mention earlier how much I like Subnautica. Yeah, Dredge is really fun. I don't think it's on any like subscription service or anything. I just bought it on PSN. It has a couple expansions too that I haven't tried. It's a fun indie game if you want something a little. It also kind of has a loop similar to Pacific Drive because you can fish during the day. If you stay out at night, you start to go mad a little bit. And so you're always needing to get back to somewhere safe. So if you like games with kind of a loop like that, upgrading your boat, selling fish, catching new fish, getting somewhere safe at night, and then trying to figure out these weird mysteries with what's going on with these weird fish, then I think you'd like Dredge as well.
I can't decide if I would like it. Maybe.
Yeah. It's
sure.
It's a little unique for sure. All right, Devin, tell us about Stellar Blade. I know that this is pretty well anticipated. I think it comes out like at the end of the month, like the 25th or 6th or something.
Yeah, I think it is demo
came out a couple weeks. Yeah.
I don't remember. I looked it up like a week ago, and it came from some game that other people know. There's like a predecessor in a way. I can't remember what it's called. Do you know?
Is it Project Eve?
It is. Of course he knows.
Okay.
Of course he knows. He's so smart. Okay, anyways. I don't have too much to say about the game. They only let me play like an hour of the demo. But beautiful. Really unique enemy design. You think you've seen it all. You go into a game, you're like, here we go. The enemy has tentacles again. I've fought stuff like this before. Really, really unique enemies. I didn't get to see them all, but I got to see a few, and it was cool. If you're into, I don't know what you would call the art style. Not really anime, but the graphically very, very pretty. You probably know what the art style is. I honestly don't.
I don't know a term for it. I know what you mean, though. It kind of gives me like Ninja Gaiden vibes. A little less, like in Japan with leaves falling off the trees. But if Ninja Gaiden had more monsters and was maybe in the city, I don't know. I get what you mean, though. It's kind of like the anime Japanese vibe.
Yeah. The game did have some Souls-like aspects to it. I walked through a doorway. I was like, I'm gonna open that chest right there. No, you're not. Slapped in the back of the head. There was someone waiting for me right around a corner. And not many games do that. Usually you know where the enemies are. That's what I appreciate about Lies of P and Souls games. But they did that to you in this as well. This has a parry system. The parry timing is definitely different than Souls games, though. I had to parry extremely early, I believe it was, to completely block a hit. And that felt weird. Felt a little bit weird, but also good once you got used to it. I'm trying to remember anything else. There was a little bit of swimming in the game. Kind of held your hand. Felt slightly linear. I'm assuming it's not very open world. I mean, that's truly about all I know about it.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe it gave me too. It kind of reminded me of something like Bayonetta, or what's the other one called? That Bayonetta is kind of, or Devil May Cry, kind of like with maybe like a little more hardcore Souls-like fights. But yeah, it seemed a little bit more action oriented than a Souls game for sure. It seems pretty cool. This is kind of a personal preference thing, but I do wish Eve could wear clothes or something. She's a little ridiculous in that kind of way.
She is showing it. It is crazy. And I saw a couple of the outfits that come out. Don't look those up. Don't look those up.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
It's crazy.
Got some Nier Automata and what's the other one? There's that anime Ghost in the Shell vibes for sure.
Yeah.
In that way. But so yeah, I don't know that I'll ever I don't know that I'll play this one, but
I don't know if I will either. If it's $70, I probably won't.
I think it is. I think it will be. I think most games generally will be. And I think even for Helldivers 2, which was $40, I think Sony wishes they could go back in time and charge more for that because it sold so stinking much. But
that's funny.
Cool. Any other video games you want to bring up here in this section? I think we covered all of them.
No, I don't think so.
Cool. All right, we're going to go over the board games we played recently. And I think we'll have a lot of overlap here since Devin usually plays his games with me. And we went on a family trip 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, something like that. So we'll have a lot of the same games here. So maybe I'll just start with the one that... I'll start with the two that you haven't played, and then we can hop into the other two.
Perfect.
First one on our trip, I did play with our other brother, Radlands, which is a fun... I've got show and tell here as well. Little card game, comes in a box that's very small, and it's very fun. It's basically a one-on-one card battler where both players choose 3 bases that they will keep in kind of 3 lanes in front of them. And then you'll draw cards on your turn and play cards out in front of those bases to try and protect them and try to destroy your opponent's bases before they destroy yours. And so it's, not revolutionary in that way, but I do really like that the entire game is contained in this box. You can get this, there we go, light. You can get this game for, $15, and there are no like booster packs or anything that you have to buy. It's, all encompassing in that box. And it's a really fun system. You have 3 water that you can spend as like your action points each turn to play new cards out. They might have different costs, or to play these event cards out. And an event card will have a different slot that it goes in, either 1, 2, or 3. And at the beginning of your turn, you get to move all your events forward 1 slot. So any event that was in the number 1 slot gets pushed forward and activates. So you can kind of see what your opponent is planning. Like they might be planning to, I think one of the event cards is called like Raiding Run. And so you can see, okay, in 2 turns, his Raiding Run is going to activate, and it's going to do this or this, or get to damage one of my bases, and even though I have it protected with a card. And so that kind of timing and planning of turns is really fun, where you can throw things at your opponent that are going to happen 1 to 3 turns from now, and they'll do the same thing back to you. And there's probably a stack of, 30 or 40 bases. And since you only choose 3 and your opponent only chooses 3, there's quite a bit of replayability there, where I think you're dealt 6 random ones, and then you choose 3 out of the 6. And so the kind of the set of bases that you have to play with, and each base has a special ability as well, and how those combo together and which ones you get out each game will change pretty wildly. But yeah, I played that twice on our trip with our younger brother, and it was really fun. We were dead even the first game, and I barely snuck out a win, and then the second game he just absolutely crushed me. So it was really fun to to play that with him. Radlands, very highly recommend it. Recently on Gaming Top Down, I made a video of my top 100 games of all time, and it is on there. I just can't remember which number it was. And I think after playing it there, I would bump it up a ways. It got better for sure, playing it a few more times. So I played that one. The other one that Devin hasn't played, I did take it on our trip, but we didn't have time. I've been playing a lot of Dune Imperium, which I'm a little late to the party on. It came out probably 4 years ago, and it's based on the new Dune movies. You can see that's upside down. Here's more show and tell. We got the art from the movies. We got Josh Brolin here as Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho, and the different characters from Dune, which after watching the movie a couple more times, I really like the first Dune. I still haven't seen the new one, which I know people have been raving about. But yeah, Dune Imperium, it's a really good game. I don't have any of the expansions, of which there are many, I think 3 or 4. And there's already a sequel called Dune Imperium Uprising, I believe. But just this base game on Board Game Geek, which is the biggest board game database in the world, I think is, if I remember correctly, in the 4 years since it's come out, it is already game number 5 best game of all time.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, it's risen a ton very quickly. There's only a few games that have gone up that quickly, that fast. Quickly that fast, those are the same words. But yeah, Dune Imperium is really great. Basically, it's you would think it might be kind of a war game being based off of Dune. I roll my dice to see if I beat your dude, but it's actually what we would call a Euro game. This might be a teaching moment here, Devin. There are kind of 2 different classes of board games generally. There are kind of American games that I can't think of great examples at this moment when I'm trying to teach you, but basically they rely a lot on luck and die rolls, things like Risk. I rolled 5, I get to kill one of your troops. Or Dungeons and Dragons is not like exactly a board game. It's kind of a tabletop RPG, but it kind of has those trappings as well. And then there is a class of games called Euro games that generally come out of places like Germany, and they have a lot less direct conflict in them. It's more like, instead of luck and die rolls, more like strategy. And I'm going to convert my silk resource into money, and whoever can be most efficient in this efficiency puzzle will be the winner. And I generally like Euro games better than American games, sometimes called Ameritrash, which is kind of a weird word that they use for that. But yeah, Dune Imperium, I think, is a Euro game. It does have a tiny bit of conflict at the end of each round, but basically you have a deck of cards. You start with 10. The game is called a deck builder because of this. You start with these 10 cards, and you'll be trying to purge the bad ones out of your deck and buy new ones in your deck. That's one of the main trappings of a deck building game, is to build your deck. So it takes deck building and then also adds in worker placement, which is a very common thing in modern board games, where you have a worker, place them on the board somewhere, and wherever you place them, you get to do something. Maybe that spot gives you money, or it lets you exchange something for something else, or it lets you take in a bonus action. And so your cards have 2 sections on them. They have one section that says, if you play this card down, then you can put one of your workers in a spot matching the symbols on the card. And then a bottom section that basically at the end of the round, any cards that you didn't play to put workers down, of the 5 that you drew, you will reveal all of them and get to use that bottom section on all of your cards. So you're trying to get good cards, but you can use all your cards 2 different ways: to put out your workers, or to reveal at the end of the round to get more points in the combat, and whoever wins the combat will win some cool reward. And man, it's really It's a pretty simple game, actually. It's not overly complex, even though I may have made it sound complex from that explanation. But there's quite a bit of depth there because the cards can be used two different ways. And I went to this game night with people I've never been played with before. And there was this guy there. He has played Dune Imperium, I think 50 times, he said. And man, he was good. He knew like all the strategies and just absolutely crushed us. But it was fun to see like that level of depth, even though it's more fun to usually play with people around your level in games like that. But yeah, Dune Imperium is really great. And I don't know for sure, but I imagine you can get this version that I have for, a pretty good price. I think a board game like that is usually like $60 at full price. But since it has a couple expansions out, it's been out for 4 years, it already has a sequel. I bet if you watch closely on Amazon or use the Board Game Deals Reddit page, I bet you could find Dune Imperium for 40 or 35 maybe, if you're lucky, sometime soon, maybe around Black Friday, which is forever in the future. But yeah, Dune Imperium, really loving lately. I think I've played it 4 times in the last few weeks, and yeah, I've just been thinking about it. And I bought it probably 4 years ago and only played it once solo against kind of the solo enemy. And I was like, man, this game seems okay. And on my top 100 games video that I was mentioning earlier, I think it's number like 97, because I filmed it in January at the start of this year. But yeah, since playing it 4 more times, it's gonna shoot up a lot this next year. Dune Imperium, super great. The art's really great, especially if you like the Dune movies. I really like sci-fi, and so yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, Devin, I think there's 2 games that both of us played on the trip, so I'll just maybe quickly show and tell them. And
yes.
Okay. First one here is called Fractured Sky. It's kind of a big box, so I don't know how great this is going to show and tell, but at least you'll be able to see that space octopus in the video. Sorry for the audio listeners. Basically, I'm holding up these games as we show them, but if you want to see what it looks like, Google Fractured Sky or any of the other ones I mentioned. Yeah, it's an interesting game where there's a lot of hidden information in this game. You're trying to find these starfall pieces at 10 different spots on the board, but you don't know where they're going to be each round. So you can spend some gold to peek at a card, and then you'll know where one of those starfalls are going to be at the end of the round. And it feels good to know things that other people don't. It's kind of the crux of this game is, okay, I know Devin peeked at that card, and then he put one of his troop pieces on this location on the board. Is he bluffing, or did he put 0 troops there? Kind of the cool thing about that is you have these ships that you send your troop tokens with, and they magnet to the bottom of your ships with some magnet piece with numbers on them from 0 to 10. And in a round, you can only send out a total of 10 cumulative troops across your 3 ships. So Devin could have sent out a 0 or a 10 or a 9 or a 2, anywhere between. And so you're kind of reading the other players, trying to figure out things that they don't know by peeking at these cards. It's super, super unique, and the pieces are gorgeous. And so it's really fun to play. I think I've played it 3 or 4 times now. I do have one complaint with it, which I think is the thing that Devin brought up the first time that we played it. But before I guess say that, anything that stood out to you about the game, Devin, or that you would want to mention about Fractured Sky?
Ooh, I mean, there's goods and bads in my opinion. Like you said, you don't like games that are all just based on luck and rolling die or dice. I don't know how to pronounce it. The same thing with this game. It's hard to strategize when you have no idea what other people know. So my favorite way to play the game was to just peek at the same ones y'all peeked at, so that I knew the same information that you knew. I didn't win,
right?
But I don't like.
You got close.
I did. I got very close, and I didn't. It was hard to strategize when you knew a few things that I didn't. And so I can't decide if I loved that or not about the game. I enjoyed the game. The game was super fun. Had a good time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's really fun as well. And for the playtime, it's probably like 90 minutes. I think it's great for what it is. If it was any longer, I think I would like it less. Just because of what you said. You can sometimes get really lucky. You know, send out a piece here and it just to a certain location, and it happened to be one of the secret Starfall, and maybe by some miracle it was also the objective for the round was to win that region. So boom, you got 2 points.
Yeah.
And man, those points are so valuable. You're going to win with like 6 or 7. And so being able to luck into points like that is kind of a downer for me. But it doesn't put like a huge negative on the game for me, just because
I agree.
It's pretty quick. It's so unique, playing with those, you know, magnet pieces and hiding everything behind your shield on your cool tray is just
the
a good time.
Were way cool.
Yeah, super cool. So yeah, Fractured Skies, really great. I have the rating scale kind of on gaming top down, where I'll give a game a silver trophy, a gold trophy, or a platinum trophy, and I think Fractured Sky will get a gold trophy for me. So it's not in my platinum top echelon, but it's great. And if somebody wanted to play it, I think I would say yes basically every time. So yeah, Fractured Sky, really cool game. Definitely recommend it. It's a little pricey just because of the kind of the cool components with all the fancy trays and magnets and holographic cards and stuff. But if you can find a copy, it's very unique. And the other one, Devin, that we played on the trip is brand new. Yeah, it's called The Veil of Eternity. Here's the cover. Kind of has, I don't even know what kind of vibe that is, but I've seen it compared online to something like Pokemon. You're basically trying to capture these different creatures, but I mean, you can look at it that way if you like. It's really just a card game. There are different creatures on each card, but you're just trying to be strategic with your cards. And I think the cool thing about this game is, well, there's a few things, but how it limits you, and those limits kind of stretch you enough so that you have to think outside the box, and everyone has the same limits. So you have to figure out, how can I work inside these limits better than the people I'm playing against? And so kind of the crux of the game is every round, 2 cards will come out to the center place for each player. So in the 3-player game that we played, there's 6 cards that come out. And each player has 2 of these wooden pieces. And in a snake draft, starting with the first player, then going second, then third player, then third player goes again, then back to second, then first. You'll put one of your discs on one of those 6 cards to kind of claim it. And then eventually all 6 cards will have a disc on it. And then each player will take their actions from that point, and then the round ends. And the actions you can take are, take that card in your hand, trash it for, you know, whatever is listed there on the side of the card. It might be these kind of point stones, these power stones. I can't remember what they were called, but these stones valued 1, 3, and 6. I think those are the 1, 3, and 6. That you use those to then do the third action, which is play cards down in front of you into kind of your active area. And the 2 limits on this game are, you can only have as many cards in your active area as the round number. So in the first round, you can only have 1. Third round, you can have up to 3 cards in front of you. And you can only have 4 of those currency rocks. And you can never get change. And if you overspend for something, you don't get change back. So it's all about trying not to waste too many of your stones. And those cards that you put down in front of you will either give you some ongoing bonus or have kind of this hourglass symbol on them. And all of the cards that you have in front of you with that symbol on them, you must activate at the end of your round. So it's all about trying to get cards that combo really well together to get the most points. And the game ends either at the end of the 10th round or after the end of the round when someone gets past 60 points. That was kind of a long explanation without anything on the screen to help that explanation go by. But yeah, it's actually, I really liked this game. I think, like I mentioned, those constraints on the stones that you pay for cards with and on how many cards you can put in front of you are really interesting, because it makes it sometimes worth it to do the fourth action, which is to pay the same amount of stones again to remove that card from your active area. I don't know that any of us did that, but it might be worth it just to clear up that space, because it's valuable real estate. I know you liked this game quite a bit.
I did like this game. Yes. For many reasons. I liked the combos. It reminded me of a video game. Not a specific video game, but just the idea of building something on top of something else to make like a super combo so that all I do is win. You know what I'm saying? It reminded me of like Remnant 2, actually. You have your character. You have 4 ring slots on the right. Let's make sure every ring slot has perks that all bounce off of each other in the best way so that I can just get even 5% more damage output. That type of thing. This game was also punishing, though. I had a strategy plan from the beginning. And your host, Dave, destroyed my plan.
Yeah, there are a few cards in the game that are a little mean.
Yeah, But I also liked that I could see what you guys were doing. Cards weren't hidden from me. I could come over and read your strategies on your cards. It was all out in the open, very strategic, and I think that's why it was my kind of game. I was like, I can mathematically figure out how to make a good combo.
Yeah.
But I don't think I won. Did I?
I don't think you did either.
Yeah.
in both this game and Fractured Sky that we talked about, I think our younger brother won both of them. Or no, he didn't win that one. I can't remember, but actually I think you did win Veil of Eternity, which was surprising because I kind of crippled you in that first round by making you purge that card. But I'm pretty sure you did come back and win. I could check the log, but we'll just assume that for now. But yeah, Veil of Eternity, it's pretty brand new. I think it came out in March.
Yeah, good new
Maybe
game.
a little earlier than that, but yeah, really cool game. The only thing I would say, I wish there were a few more cards, maybe 50 more cards or something, just for a little more variety.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if the game's popular enough, they'll release an expansion just with more cards, because I think the structure and kind of the flow of the game is already great, but with a little more variability, it could just be a little more different each time you play it. Yeah, good games. Cool. I'm going to skip that last one I had on the document, but
good, because I don't remember it.
No, that's all right. We played that one with the whole family. It was a big party game, but we'll skip that one for now. Yeah, that section, I thought that was really fun chatting about those. It went longer than I thought it would, to be honest. It's a lot of games to talk about. Yeah. All right, we're going to go through some news. Like I mentioned at the top, I don't think, news analysis necessarily will be like the main focus of our show. I want it to be a little more, fun than that. Neither me nor Devin we don't like work in the video game or board game industries. So it's not like we have connections that are like giving us scoops and stuff. We're just excited about the new games coming out, and, sometimes news might be interesting. So I've got a few things listed here. Let's see if any of them are interesting to you. We'll first go over video game news. And this first one probably doesn't deserve to be number one, but I made it number one because it's most important to me. Number one, Hollow Knight Silksong has a new listing and rating in North Korea. A listing for the game popped up on the Xbox store on April Fool's Day, which is kind of funny. And I saw the Xbox's community manager or somebody tweeted no, this actually isn't an April Fool's joke. But then you're like, can we believe you? Who knows? So yeah, that was kind of funny. But then a couple days later, somebody found Silksong's it's not the ESRB because it's not in America, but it's like South Korea's ESRB where they rate games. So it was rated for South Korea back in February. And that is generally a sign that a game is getting imminent, because it has to be like content complete, and generally that's like the last step before you release something. And so it kind of has the internet in a buzz again that, okay, are we finally gonna get news about when this game is coming out? It was supposed to come out in the first half of 2023 after their Team Cherry being silent for a long time, but they delayed it, I think, in June sometime. So right at the end of the first half of 2023, they said it wouldn't come out then, but they didn't like give a new date at that time. So it's just kind of been silence there for a little bit. This is by far my most anticipated video game.
Ooh, I'm also way excited.
And so this is a big deal for me. I think it might go in conjunction with our number 2 news item a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just going to read the Silksong synopsis just because I think it sounds cool. But from Video Games Chronicle, had the synopsis along with that news from the article I just read. According to its developer, Silksong will feature a brand new kingdom, over 150 different enemies, and a Silk Soul mode, a new difficulty setting that greatly changes the game after the first playthrough. Players control Hornet, who is awesome. Hornet's so cool. A princess protector of Hollownest, and adventure through a kingdom ruled by Silk and Song. Captured and brought to this unfamiliar world, Hornet must battle foes and solve mysteries as she ascends on a deadly pilgrimage to the kingdom's peak. The game's official blurb reads: as the lethal hunter Hornet, journey to all new lands, discover new powers, battle vast hordes of bugs and beasts, and uncover ancient secrets tied to your nature and your past. End quote. Yeah, very excited for Silksong. I think this does mean it's going to be shown soon. I don't know when that will be, obviously, but it was the first one. They kind of had a Nintendo partnership, and I think it came to Switch like a year before it came to everything else, but I think it is coming day and date to every platform this time. But I don't know who will have the marketing rights to it, because it seemed like Nintendo did for a while. But anyways, we'll see. Are you excited for Silksong, Devin?
Very much so, sir. I loved the first game. Played it on stream a second time. I think I've played it on my own third time. Yeah. Super good. Very impressive. I think you told me it was made by 2 individuals.
I think Team Cherry was 2 people. They might have
whatever it was
for this game. I'm
small
not sure.
Team made a great game that was difficult, fun to learn boss movements and skill sets. I'm stoked. And to play as a different character on the sequel, that's cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. She moves very differently just in some of the gameplay that they released, years ago. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for that. Cool. Number 2, maybe this will be in conjunction with Silksong, who knows? But according to Jeff Grubb, he is at Giant Bomb, and he is one of the most well-connected people in the video game industry by far. He says that he's heard multiple times that Sony is planning a presentation for the month of May. Maybe that's let's see, I'll read the quote here. When talking about the ESRB rating for Silent Hill 2 Remake, he said, I have heard that there will be a PlayStation something, either a state of play or a showcase next month in May. So this is probably going to be there. 2 things. Could Silksong be at the showcase? Maybe not, but I'm guessing that they'll probably show the PlayStation 5 Pro, which would be cool, if this is indeed a showcase and not a state of play. And I wonder if they'll show, I think Insomniac's Wolverine game is still supposed to come out this year. And then they have a couple other games they announced last year that haven't come out. I think Concord and Fair Games, which are supposed to be like live service kind of shooter games, I believe. But anyways, sounds like there may be some kind of presentation next month, which would be fun. Maybe it'll be on my birthday. We'll see. Second thing, any interest in the remake for Silent Hill 2.
Oh,
have you played any Silent Hills before?
I feel like maybe I've caught a glimpse of the originals. Were they on like PS1?
Yeah, I remember playing through a little bit of the first one at Grandma's house on our uncle's PlayStation 1. We had no idea what we were doing, basically just walking through some fog, and there were some weird monsters. I thought they had a cool vibe.
Yeah. To answer
and
your
being
question,
made by... Yeah, go ahead.
I love all things horror. So, and I've seen all of the Silent Hill movies. So absolutely. Anything I can play that's horror themed, as long as it gets, like a 70% rating or above, maybe something like that, or just mostly positive reviews on Steam, I'm in.
Yeah. Devin's got that low threshold for horror. He'll play and watch all of it.
I just want to see if something can really scare me.
Yeah. Yeah, Silent Hill 2, the original, is super well regarded in like the psychological, I think that's the term, psychological horror genre. I hope that it goes well. Konami hasn't made games in a long time. They own Castlevania and Silent Hill and Metal Gear and some other things, and they've kind of stepped away from making games, which is kind of a bummer. Castlevania as well, love a new one of those. But the weird thing about this one is they have such like valuable properties. They could kind of ask like anybody, like any developer would want to make a Castlevania game or a Silent Hill game. And so how much does it hurt or help your excitement that this Silent Hill 2 game is being made by the same company that made, drumroll please, The Medium? I think you played that one on stream.
That game was fine. The Medium was fine.
Yeah.
But it didn't blow me away, like, at all.
I remember that section of you running towards the camera down that hallway.
Yeah, a little Crash Bandicoot memory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a pretty big sentiment online that people don't think this team is ready for this remake of such a loved game. I want every game to be great, so I hope it's amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say I hope so.
Yeah, so we'll see. But anyways, maybe a Sony State of Play or a showcase next month, and we'll see. I would imagine that this Silent Hill 2 thing would be there, since Sony seems to have a pretty good partnership with Konami, both being Japanese companies and all. All right, next few we can probably go through pretty quick. Third one, I don't know if this is interesting to you, Devin, because I think you haven't played this game in quite a while, but Bungie, who's been in a lot of kind of public turmoil and financial turmoil lately, is making their last expansion, at least what I think is their last expansion, to Destiny 2, comes out later this year.
Wow.
And they're finally going to show it next week. It's called The Final Shape. Will you play Destiny again? Or has that ship sailed?
Destiny was one of my favorite games for a long time. If it's going to be
the first one or the second one?
I played them both, but I think I played more of the second one.
Okay.
If it's going to be truly the final DLC or expansion for that game, then yes, I will. I will play it, and I will cry as I do so. Will the game die, though? Will it die after, if they're not going to make any more? Does it just come to a point where there's no more content and you just leave it?
Yeah, it's a good question. When they first started making Destiny, they said they had a 10-year plan for it. And I think this year is maybe 10 years since the first one came out. Dang. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a... Destiny's obviously been huge. I played a little bit of the first one, and the shooting was really fun. I loved Halo growing up, and Bungie makes great shooting mechanics in their games. So I thought it was really fun, but the grind of like going back and doing the same missions 1,000 times for better gear kind of lost me. I know that a lot of people really love it.
Yeah, people like to get their god roll guns with perfect perks. I think if you're going that route, I started to lose a little bit of interest. But when they came out with new exotics, that was like a week-long quest. Maybe there was a raid attached to something, a 6-person raid. That's when it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, those raids were crazy. I only did one, and I don't even think we finished it fully. Man, it was like 4 or 5 hours and very difficult. Like so much planning. Like you need to go here and do this. You need to go here and do this. And it was nuts.
All 6 members need to be extremely coordinated and understand the raid's mechanics, or they just never get done. Yet there are some people who have solo raided some of them. So I don't know how that works, but someone told me that. They could have been lying to me. I don't know.
Probably the same guy that stands in front of, what's her name, Millennia in Elden Ring and says, "Let me solo her." Did you see that guy?
I don't know if I did. No.
Oh man, he was pretty famous in the Elden Ring world. He would basically stand in front of that room with a message over his head, "Let me solo her." And I think it said in one article I read that he beat her for other players over 2,000 times.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't even get close to that far in Elden Ring, but I know that was a tough, I think the toughest fight in the game, right?
Oh, I mean, I died over 100 times easily.
Oh, dang. Well, Destiny 2, I hope it ends well for that game. I think that if I tried to jump in now, I'd be so lost with like all of even the lore and like what's going on in the story. I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I hope that goes well, and I hope that Marathon, their next game, which we've only seen kind of that teaser trailer from last year, I hope it's good too. Next one, really short. There were some assumptions that the Knights of the Old Republic remake had been canceled because it's kind of a long story, but the company that was making it was owned by this parent company called the Embracer Group, and they have been in like tons of like financial trouble. Basically, they've been shutting down tons of teams, huge layoffs across their entire division. I think they owned over 120 development studios, which is nuts, especially when you think like Xbox owns like 25 or 30, and I think Sony owns like 12. I don't know how a company thought they could manage that many. It's nuts. But I guess the company that was making Knights of the Old Republic has been, I think they bought themselves back from Embracer or something like that. So they're no longer under that umbrella. And their CEO said that remake is alive and well. Did you play KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic?
I think so. There's so many Star Wars games, and I honestly, I believe I did. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember playing it on our Xbox. I just couldn't remember if you had. It was really cool. I liked like how many worlds there were. There was like a big part of the game where you could go play on Kashyyyk, where all the Wookiees live. And the story was really cool. I really liked that you could make decisions and they were like very impactful. You could decide to be like totally a good Jedi or like join the dark side. and that part was really cool. I think it even affected the ending. Like you could, I don't want to get into spoilers for that game, but I think it greatly affected the ending of the game. I never played the second one, and I didn't really like the combat in it. It was very much like not totally turn-based, but I tell my character I want them to attack, and then they run up and smack the enemy. And I've never super vibed with turn-based games, but I remember liking this one more than probably any other that I have. So I hope it comes out and is great. That'd be cool. I am a little tired of Star Wars stuff, but there are some Star Wars properties that have been really good. The Mandalorian's great, and the Star Wars Jedi series actually is really super. Really liked that new one. Had some great story moments. It's super. You should play that on stream. I think it's a good one. All right, well, that's Knights of the Old Republic. Next one, really simple. You've been playing Dragon's Dogma 2. It was announced that they've sold 2.5 million copies in, I think, it was 10 days or 2 weeks or something, which I think is pretty good for them. They announced the series is at 10 million. Yeah, pretty short update there. Seems like the game is doing well. It seemed like it had a lot of buzz and kind of hype right before launch. So I think that number will grow, maybe even double here shortly, because it seems like it might have legs. We'll see. Helldivers 2, we mentioned earlier in the show. It has a lot of new things. First of all, it has a new patch, which I believe balance more of the weapons, and kind of along with that patch, there was kind of a push for the Helldivers to to kind of save this one planet from the automatons. I forget what it's called, Malevolent Creek, I think that was the name of it. It was a really difficult planet or something, and I think they finally did liberate that planet. But after this patch came out, have you seen any of these new automaton enemies? Someone saw like these flying spaceships in the sky, and then there's kind of like in Star Wars those, I think they call them the AT-ATs, in Empire Strikes Back, the walkers in the snow.
Yeah.
That have like 4 legs and are really big. And they kind of look like those a little bit, kind of walking around. It's like a tank with legs. So it seems like there's some new enemies they're going to drop out.
Awesome.
I really like how they've been rolling these things out. They'll kind of tease things. I saw at one point there were like some lasers showing up on one planet, and someone tweeted at the developers and they were like, no, that's definitely not real. And then like the next day they were like, oh yeah, they're totally real. So they're just like doing some fun things there. There's also a new War Bond launching on April 11th. I think Sony announced that today, which will be really cool for people to earn new stuff. I think there were a new light, medium, and heavy armor set, a couple new weapons, and probably some other cosmetic things I can't remember, capes and stuff.
Yeah, War Bond is basically a free battle pass, I believe. Yeah.
So really cool. I'm excited to jump back into that. And see everything that's new just in the last like month since we played it. It's cool that it can change that much that quickly. And then last thing for video game news, lots of free games to at least mention that are free with different subscriptions. In the first section here, the PlayStation Plus Essential games have been announced. They are available now if you're listening to this, and it's still April 2024. I think they went available on Tuesday. Maybe it's Wednesday now, I can't remember. But Immortals of Avium is the first one and kind of the headliner. I think it came out about 7-8 months ago and didn't sell very well, so I think like half of that team that made it has been laid off. But I think a lot of people have actually liked it. It has kind of a cult following, so I'm excited to try it. It's kind of a first-person shooter, but instead of guns, you use magic, which sounds interesting to me. And it has that actor that's in that's that Netflix show. I can't remember. It has a famous actor from some Netflix shows in it. So I'm excited to try that one. Then a couple other ones. Minecraft Legends, which is probably for some people. Minecraft stuff is just not really for me. I think this one is more of a self-contained story, so I would maybe be more interested in that than base Minecraft, which just never ends. But and then the last one, Skull, the Hero Slayer, I think is kind of a roguelike game, so I might check that one out since I'm a huge fan of those. There's also an Overwatch 2 bundle if you want some stuff for Overwatch 2. They also announced a couple of games that are coming to PS Plus Extra. These will be Dave the Diver, which I'm very excited about. It's gotten a lot of buzz on Steam on April 16th. And then another one that I hadn't heard of, but it's called Tales of Kenzera Zao. Kind of an interesting name, but it looks like a Metroidvania game where it's 2D and you go around this map fighting stuff and you get new abilities that let you get to new places. That one's out on April 23rd, so check that out. On the Epic Game Store, there are 2 free games until next Thursday. They are The Outer Worlds, which is an RPG made by, I think, Obsidian, one of the teams that made one of the Fallout games a long time ago, and Thief, which is a stealth game. I don't think Thief is supposed to be amazing, but Outer Worlds I know a lot of people liked, so claim those on the Epic Store. And then these last ones I thought we'd read mostly because they're kind of funny. On the Amazon Prime free games, here we go. For the month of April, we have Faraway 2 Jungle Escape, Bridge to Another World: Secrets of the Nutcracker. I know Devin's itching to play that one.
It's already downloading.
He's got to find what the secret is to that nutcracker, you know? And then a couple others. This one has a very long name. Through the Darkest of Times, a historical resistance strategy game. And Mystery Case Files: Moths to a Flame. No shade on those games. I don't know anything about them. Maybe they're great. Coming from someone who loves indie games, I do. But I thought they were kind of funny names. Secrets of the Nutcracker. The last two, Scarf, I think looks pretty cool, actually. It's kind of an indie 3D platformer with a character with a very long scarf that looks colorful and like it might be fun. And for people that like simulator games like Power Washing Simulator or Farm Simulator, Bus Simulator 21 is on Amazon Prime. So those are all the free games. I guess next week I should probably add the Game Pass games since I didn't think about those. I always forget since I don't have an Xbox. But now that I have this Ally, I need to remember. Few things here in board game news. I feel like I've been doing all the talking, Devin, so don't fall asleep. But just a few things here.
I'm vibing.
Yeah. And these will go pretty quick. Basically, some new games announced that I thought were interesting. One of the most popular games from last year was Disney Lorcana. I don't really vibe a lot with trading card games. Basically, you have to buy like a starter set, and then there's booster packs you can buy, similar to something like Pokemon. And so you can't just buy the cards you want. You have to buy boosters and hope you get what you want, and then get duplicates and things like that. But that's what Disney Lorcana is. It's probably making Disney a ton of money because it's been super popular. New set's been announced. Some of the characters are Ariel. Bunch of characters from Encanto, such as Bruno, Dolores, Felix, Luisa, and Julieta. Mulan. And then the card I thought was the coolest, Yen Sid. I didn't know this was his name, but he's the sorcerer from Fantasia in that segment where he like puts his magic hat down and Mickey Mouse steals it and turns all the brooms to life.
I remember.
So there you go. If you need some cards for Disney Lorcana, there should be a new set out. I should have put the date here that it's out, but it has been announced. I'm sure you could find that on the Googles. The other four here are just games that have been announced that I thought were interesting. First one is Don't Starve, the board game, which is coming to crowdfunding this year, meaning it probably won't come out until late next year or maybe even the following. But I love Don't Starve, the video game, and I really hope that this one can be good. It's being published by a company called Glass Cannon Unplugged. They're in Poland, but they have adapted some games that I know were well regarded, such as Frostpunk, which I think came out just last year, and then Diablo, Apex Legends, and Dying Light. They also adapted those to board games. I usually don't like adapted games, but that Frostpunk one reviewed so well, and Don't Starve is so cool. I hope that they can do a good job with that one. A couple more really quick. A new 2-player game based on God of War is coming out. It's set during the period between God of War and Ragnarok. And so it says, going back. Quote, a board game for 2 players, God of War, the board game, has players working together to overcome various threats, including several monsters and a final boss. The beginning of each playthrough will have players choose out of 8 different quests before selecting the monsters and a final boss. Every quest will have players trying to achieve an objective, such as fortifying the protection staves, avoiding Freya's revenge, and helping Atreus search for answers to his identity. And I thought this part sounded cool. Along the way, players must face off against a roster of monsters and bosses who have their own behaviors and patterns the team will need to anticipate and respond to, and as they progress, the duo will gain more synergy with each other and further develop their chosen characters. I thought that seemed cool. 2-player co-op game where it seems like you can work together better the farther you play through the campaign. So hopefully that's good. I like 2-player games. I'm a little iffy on co-op games, but if it's done well, I think they can be fun. Number 4, there's also a game for Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's getting a co-op deck building game. And it says in the synopsis, quote, Avatar The Last Airbender Aang's Destiny is an upcoming board game based on the entire animated series. The title will take players through all 3 seasons of the series, from the discovery of Aang in the ice at the very beginning of the show to the confrontation with Fire Lord Ozai at the end. Players take the role of key characters from the show and work together to overcome various challenges from the series. End quote. I think Avatar The Last Airbender is one of the best TV shows ever made. Saying that as a 33-year-old man, and even though it's on Nickelodeon, it's amazing. And this game is going to be designed by Patrick Marino, who designed the Cuphead game. The Cuphead, not video game, Cuphead, the fast-rolling dice game. And a couple other popular board games, such as another game based on Avatar, Fire Nation Rising. So I hope that can be good. That would be, really awesome if they could make a really solid game from Avatar. And I know that they have made a couple games from that series before. Like I mentioned, the Fire Nation Rising one, and there was one based on The Legend of Korra that was about the water bending. So look forward to that. And last one, kind of the most strange one in my opinion. I didn't think this would ever happen, but that video game Bugsnax is getting a board game. It's a pretty simple card game, and it's on Kickstarter right now through the end of April. And in the game, you'll choose a deck. It looks like there are 4 base decks and 9 more advanced ones. And each deck plays a little different, but you'll play cards trying to trap and eat the different Bugsnax. I don't know if you remember this game, Devin, but when you ate the Bugsnax, they kind of transformed the Krampus's body. Like if you ate a French fry, then like their arm would turn into a French fry.
I feel like I remember seeing fruit or something.
Yeah, yep, like a walking strawberry with a face on it or something. Yeah, very unique. But yeah, in this game, if you eat a Bugsnax by trapping the card, then you get to draw a card from the Grumpus deck, which will give you a new special ability, kind of trying to mimic that. So seems kind of silly. I might check it out later. I try not to back too many games on Kickstarter because I need to save my money, first of all. And second of all, they take a long time to deliver. And this one's not too expensive, $25, but then you do have the $10 in shipping, where if I wait and get it on Amazon later, I won't have to pay shipping and that whole jazz. So anyways, those were some announcements from the board game world. We are usually going to end our show with listener questions, but this is episode number 1, so we don't have any today. And we've been going for almost 2 hours, actually, which is crazy. But I kind of have a segment planned here that we'll just go through kind of quickly, but it's a bit more get to know your hosts. And we're going to take turns listing our 5 favorite first retro games, 5 favorite modern games. These are video games. And then our 5 favorite board games. And that will kind of be our ending segment of this first episode. And then we hope that, the listeners will join us on Patreon to be able to submit questions and thoughts to the show, and we will include them here and talk about them on the air. So first thing first, let's do our retro games. This will kind of age us a little bit, but I think it'll be good. Maybe since I've been talking so long, why don't you start with your first one, and then
my first retro game,
and then I'll go.
And the foundation for even streaming on Twitch has got to be Mega Man X or 8 are the 2 I remember most.
Very cool ones. 8 has that kind of crazy anime vibe with those weird cutscenes at the beginning. Do you remember those? And then X is just so good. Love that one.
Oh, X is so good.
Yeah, great choice. I almost had that on my list, but I love 2D games, and there were probably like 7 that I could have slotted into one of my slots, but I chose a different 2D game in a couple minutes. Number 5 for me is probably Crash Bandicoot and Crash Team Racing. I'm lumping those together because I can cheat at my own list. But man, I remember playing those a ton. The levels riding the baby polar bear, jumping on the baby polar bear in kind of the menu section, and if you slammed on him to get the extra lives. So yeah, just great games. Kind of where my love for Naughty Dog started, was way back then, long time ago.
My number 2 is gonna be, just for the nostalgia, I'm gonna go with Ape Escape.
Oh, good choice.
Love Ape Escape.
I remember, I think when we got that game, Dad didn't know that you can only play that game if you had the new DualShock controller, and we didn't have one. So I'm pretty sure we put the disc in, and it said, sorry, you can't play this without a DualShock, because the first PlayStation controllers didn't have either of the joysticks, which is kind of crazy. So we had to go out and buy one, and I'm pretty sure we bought this like red crappy Mad Catz one that broke pretty quickly. But yeah, that game was really great and memorable for sure. Next one for me was Donkey Kong, that came out in 1994 for the Game Boy. This game was really cool. I thought it was just kind of an emulation of the arcade cabinet that has those 4 levels that you repeat and repeat and repeat to get a high score. And I don't know, maybe other people knew this back in the day, but I didn't know. But once you beat those 4 levels, the game just continues, and there's 96 more. So I had like 100 levels kind of hidden after that section. Wow. And that's kind of where the Mario versus Donkey Kong series came from. Mario has to collect these keys to open doors, and it's kind of a little puzzle game, but really great game on the original Game Boy.
Okay, we're at number 3. I'm gonna go with SNES Battletoads.
Oh, great choice. Battletoads Cross Double Dragon.
That one? Yeah. Where you could choose between the 3 toads and the 2 bros in the tanks, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like nobody ever chose them. Everybody wanted to be, what were their names? Pimple and Zitz.
Zit and... Oh, what is the other
Wart,
one?
maybe? I can't remember.
It might be. Maybe.
That game's so stinking hard.
Very hard.
Very fun. But man, some of those levels are just brutal. Cool. That's a great choice. Loved that one. Played it at our cousin's house all the time. My number 3 is the original Splinter Cell trilogy from the Xbox. Really great. I remember getting that first one for Christmas when I was 13, I think. And yeah, thinking, wow, this is so crazy. They can't see me when I'm hiding in the shadows. I'm like a silent ghost here. Just, yeah, kind of my first grown-up game. I think it was the first video game I ever got that was rated T. So I felt like a big kid for a minute, and what a great game. Those are super.
Yeah,
I just bought like this. Too. Yeah. I just bought the Splinter Cell collection on Steam, and I'm excited to play them again on my Ally. So very, very much love Splinter Cell.
Number 4. I'm going to pick, just for the nostalgia, they're probably not even good games, but I'm going to pick Rampage.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of old games I could pick just for the nostalgia. But I just remember playing it on a handheld device. I don't know if this was an Atari Lynx or a Game Gear.
I think it was a Lynx.
Okay.
Those were cool. You could our neighbors had some. That's probably where you played it.
Probably.
At the Crawfords. They had a couple, and I think you could connect them with a cable, maybe, and then play together. I'm pretty sure you could. But yeah, those games are great. Trying to, find like the power-ups in the windows and eat the ladies and stuff. Yeah, Rampage is super cool. My number 4 here retro game is Zelda. And the Zelda I'm going to say is probably not everyone's favorite, but it's Twilight Princess. I thought this one was awesome. I think I was 14 or 15 when we got it on the Wii.
Yes.
Maybe 16, I don't remember. But at that point, I had only played some of the older Zeldas, like the original on the NES. I hadn't played Ocarina of Time. And man, I thought it was awesome. I thought I was like so cool playing this adult Zelda where he could turn into a wolf. And man, that last boss fight against Ganondorf with the multiple stages, when you fight him at the end on that big grass field in that ring of fire, It's a good boss fight. So that was my favorite Zelda for a long time. It's not my favorite anymore, but I think that's probably my favorite retro. And it's weird to say that a game on the Wii and the GameCube's retro, but kind of is now.
I might need to remake my list, but for the sake of the PS1, I'm going to say Tekken 2.
Ooh, fun one.
It really was. It was so fun. I remember getting all the way through to, what was the guy's name? Jin. And then like what would he turn into? Like some monster at the end of the game.
Oh, like there was one that turned into like a black demon with wings. Then one was like an angel that was white.
Yeah, was this number
Can't
2?
Remember.
I don't remember either.
I can't remember if that was 2 or 3. Yeah, those are good games. I'm not good at fighting games, but I do remember having a lot of fun with Tekken 2 and 3. 3 has some crazy characters, the dinosaur and like the bear, and Yoshimitsu was always like one of our favorites that everybody fought over, being Yoshimitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Good games. I've heard that Tekken 8 is supposed to be really great, but I don't know if I can get into that scene.
Yeah, I know
anymore.
some people playing it.
Yeah. All right, and my number one favorite retro game is got to be Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. And I know it's probably blasphemy to some people for me to put that above like Super Mario World, which I also love. Mm-hmm. But I think I do like it better, just barely. But that's probably like my favorite platforming game. It's so good. Great music, great art. Super game.
Modern games. Number 5 for me is... Ooh, no, if number 5 isn't the very favorite, I'm gonna go Sekiro as number 5.
Great one. I can't decide if Sekiro or Bloodborne is my favorite Souls game.
That's fair.
Yeah, Sekiro's great. Super good. My number 5 is another Zelda game, and it's got to be Breath of the Wild, just because I haven't finished Tears of the Kingdom. And man, what a cool game that was when it came out. Basically, Nintendo launched the Switch with basically only that game, and nobody cared because it was the best game, so didn't need any others. Great game.
All right, number 4 for me is Rocket League. I've got
nice choice.
Probably, I don't even know how much time, 70 something days played in that game, which is embarrassing.
That's a lot of days.
Yes.
Well, that's why you're so good at it. So is what it is. My number 4 modern game. I cheated again. I cheat on both of the next two. Spelunky 1 and 2. I think these games got me into like really difficult like roguelike games where when you die you start over at 0. And there are some things you can do like unlock shortcuts and stuff, but that's not the real way to play Spelunky. It's start over and try to finish the entire game. In the first one, finish all the way through hell, beat the last boss. And man, those runs are tense, but so good. It really, you feel so good when you've beat one of those games because they are brutal. Just so difficult. You can die on a set of spikes in like half a second.
Oh yeah. Spelunky's amazing though.
Mm-hmm.
My next modern game. What will I pick? I know we already talked about it, but when I think about the past, I have to go with Destiny 2.
Oh, nice.
I played that game too much. Very fun. It was a good game. I don't know if it's still good. I've been away from it, but...
Yeah, I've heard ups and downs. People really like some of the expansions and other ones not quite as much, but yeah, good choice. My number 3 is both parts of The Last of Us. Really, really amazing as far as like story is concerned. It's almost difficult to play because it's like so violent and like harrowing almost, and what the people in that game go through is crazy. Mm-hmm. And the HBO show is also amazing, so highly recommend that, but it's very, very brutal. So if you're not ready for that, don't play it. But if you are ready to ask yourself some difficult questions and play a crazy game that And The Last of Us Part 2 is like so beautiful. I don't even know how they made it that good on the PlayStation 4. Like it looks better than most PlayStation 5 games. It's nuts.
Yeah, they really are good. I think they're way better than God of War games. Just me.
Yeah.
Just me.
Yeah. I can see that.
My number 2
I agree.
is going to be Elden Ring. Fantastic game. Massive. I looked forward to it for years and years and years from the moment I figured out it was coming out. And then we got to stream it. And hundreds and hundreds of hours in that game too.
Yeah, you did play that one a lot. I feel like you helped me a lot with difficult sections. I did like that one has co-op. It was a bummer you couldn't use the horse friend, the mount, in co-op, but I think some people did patch that in or mod that in on PC, but I play most of my games on PlayStation, so we didn't get that luxury. Number 2 for me is one you already said. It's also Rocket League. I don't have quite as much time as you, but man, for a long time, that was like the only game that I played.
Oh, yeah.
I'm nervous to start back into it again because I feel like I just will never stop playing it. It's great, but it can suck up your whole life for sure.
Very true. Number 1 for me is, you already know, Bloodborne. I want to put a / and put Lies of P, but I almost can't do it. I don't know. Bloodborne for the win. Greatest game.
Yeah.
Difficult, dark, horror-ish, very gothic. Super cool. Super cool.
2 Souls games on your list. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It makes sense. Makes sense. My number 1 is Hollow Knight. We already mentioned Silk Song. I'm very excited for that. I think it's the best Metroidvania I've ever played. And played some great ones. So Hollow Knight's just amazing. Cool. That was fun. Last ones here are your 5 favorite board games. And I know that a lot of your board game time comes from playing with me. So I think we're going to have some crossover here.
Yeah, and I've forgotten a lot of their names, but I will try my best.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. My number 5, I'll go first this time, I guess, is called Cryo. You'll see a couple of games on this list that are sci-fi, but it's a fun worker placement game. Let's see if I can get the back on camera for the audio listeners. You crash on this planet with your big spaceship, and you have to send your drones out to save all of your people that are in cryo sleep and get them down in these caves before the planet freezes. And it's a moderately complex game, but it plays pretty quickly, and it's all kind of a rush to get all of your dudes down to the caves. Very fun game about trying to it's kind of a, what do they call them, an area majority game where you're trying to have more of your people in each cave than everyone else to get the most points. Fun worker placement game. Love Cryo.
In no specific order, I'm going to start with Veil of Eternity. We already talked about it today. It's the very strategic game we talked about where you can know your enemy's moves, different strategies on each card, and building combos. That's what I remember about it.
Yeah. Yep. We did talk about it. Great one. My next one's a big game. I couldn't grab all the boxes because I have many for it. But I think it might also be on your list at some point. But it is Root. Root is a game that is pretty complex because every person chooses a character and they all play very differently from each other. And the different animals of this forest are fighting over control of the forest. It's a pretty long game. You have to be ready for 2.5 hours, maybe even 3 hours. But man, it's great. The artwork is super, and the fact that all of those factions that are so different can work together in a game is super cool.
I'm gonna go with next, Dice Throne. I don't know too much about the game, but the few times I've played it, it's fantastic. Great
choice. That was a little bit of a spoiler, me disappearing there for a minute, but might also be on my list in a moment. My number 3 is another sci-fi game. It's called Pulsar 2849. And in this game, you draft dice to do different things. You can send your loud noises. You can send your ships out to fly around outer space. You can build new satellites or these gyrodynes that rotate around planets. A really good Euro game. It's a little thinky, trying to get the most out of the 16 turns that you have in the game.
I'm not as well equipped in knowledge in the board game industry, but I'm going to also say Root as number 3. That game was beautiful.
Yeah, I remember you liked it. I think you've played it maybe twice, but yeah, good choice. And I'll pull up Dice Throne because it's my number 2. I have, there are multiple versions. This is the Marvel, the Marvel version. Very fun game. It's kind of like Battle Yahtzee. You choose a character and roll dice against someone else to try to defeat their character with your Yahtzee rolls before they defeat you. Super good.
I've forgotten the last 2 names of the ones I was going to say. We played a tree game one time.
Yep.
A tree with shadows. That's all I remember, but I enjoyed it.
It's great. Yep. It's called Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Yeah, I'll just pull it out because I remember you mentioning it real quick. Super good game. Comes in a nice thin box. And basically the sun rotates around your board. And you're trying to gather sunlight with your trees, but not blocking the other trees with the shade from the sun. Fun puzzle. Good choice. My last one has to be Welcome to the Moon. It's the sequel to Welcome to Your Perfect Home, a flip and write game where you flip over cards and then choose one of the 3 sets and then write a number on your board. But it has like 8 different campaigns inside of the box, and it's really great. I think it's the best roll and write game ever, sequel to my wife's favorite game, and yeah, it's just amazing. Welcome to the Moon is super. And all 5 of those games are on my top 100 games of all time video in that order. But if you want to see the other 95, check that out.
Cool. I'm going to go with a game that you would completely disagree with, and probably anyone listening, but it's very sentimental to me. I'm going to go Yahtzee. I remember playing Yahtzee,
I love Yahtzee
as a kid, and I would say that game means the most to me of most games.
Oh, I agree. I remember getting for Christmas when we were young those little Yahtzee, little electronic games where you could play just on the little device that ran on batteries, and playing hundreds of games of Yahtzee. And I think that's why I like Dice Throne so much. It's because it's kind of evolved from that. So yeah, I love Yahtzee. So I think that's a great choice. Cool. Awesome. Well, that was a fun segment. Like I said, we will usually end with listener mail. And so please join us on Patreon. I think we'll have a lot of fun in there, reading your comments. You can watch our exclusive videos on there. So check us out over there. That's going to wrap us up for episode number 1. How'd it go, Devin?
'Twas fun. 'Twas fun. Make sure to watch on YouTube if you actually want to see what these board games look like. Just a random thought.
Yeah, if you want to see me struggling to pull them into the frame, then yeah. Yeah, I think it went pretty well too. I think both of us were a little nervous before this started.
Oh, I definitely was. I've been hot the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a little warm in this room too with lights on me, but awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you sleep well now that it's late. It's after midnight. You need to go to bed, Mr. Streamer. But we'll see you on the next one. And thanks so much for stopping by the Game Brothers podcast, everybody. See ya.